Today at Let's Talk Marketplace, we talked about
how to build a successful marketplace. Our guest is Pinki Choudhury, who is the strategic mastermind behind the platforms of Tesco, B&Q and Castorama, and she is now building her next marketplace for the UK fashion brand Roman.
She takes us through her 8 key ingredients of a successful B2C marketplace. And her main advice for platform operators is nurture your sellers. That's what we like to hear.
Have fun listening.
Let's Talk Marketplace.
The Marketplace podcast with Ingrid and Valerie.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. I'm Ingrid, and with me, as always, is Valerie. Valerie, how are you doing? Ready to talk marketplace once again for the 110th time, as we just realized.
Wow. Yeah, of course I am. In fact, I've been doing nothing but talking about marketplace business in the past weeks because I connected and interviewed over 50 brands from all over Europe to talk with them about our marketplace universe brand community, where we will start with a marketplace leaders circle for soft lines brands in June already. And soft line brands is fashion, sports, shoes, accessoires brands. And we are really going much forward, starting already. We have already some brands on board, like S. Oliver or Pentland Group
really cool.
from the UK, and also Hunkemöller or My Jewelry and Camel Active. So I'm just focusing on getting more brands on board in this circle, and I'm really happy to get so much insights about current challenges and insights, successes, how they've been in the past 2 years, and that's a lot to do right now, and that's my focus. So actually, I'm not so much into the topic about today. So what will we be talking about today, Ingrid?
Well, today I thought we'd be turning tables in a sense, because normally on this show we concentrate on the perspective of brands who want to sell their products on marketplaces. But today I'd like to turn to the other side and have a look at the marketplace providers, what makes a new marketplace a successful one, and how does one actually start a marketplace in a landscape that is already quite full of competitors. You just have to look at one of our quadrants to see how many people are out there battling for your product. So how does a marketplace today compose an assortment? All these kind of questions, and how does it juggle the relationship between third party and first party? And so great questions. Normally, as I say, we only look at this from the other side, but this time I invited someone who could answer these questions from the perspective of the marketplace, and I'm really proud of our guest today, I have to say, because she is a true master builder of marketplaces and has been the driving force between the success of the marketplaces of B&Q and Castorama and Tesco as well. So welcome, Pinki Choudhury, and it's really great to have you on the show. Hi, Pinki.
Hi, nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, a really warm welcome from me as well, Pinki. It's really cool that we finally have you as a guest. I mean, we connected already last fall via LinkedIn because your achievements and kept popping up. Actually, you kept popping up in Ingrid's feed, and we started our conversations, and we were also like, oh, we really want to talk with a woman again, and also a woman who is building all these successful new marketplaces behind the scenes is for us oh, great. It's really, really nice to have you here. And then we had a chat and it took some time and now you are here. But despite your achievements, not all of our listeners may know you yet, especially outside the UK. So we would like to quickly introduce you a bit further. So we have 3 questions for you. And the first one is who are you?
The most basic one of all.
Yeah, super simple one.
All right, let me introduce myself. I'm Pinki Choudhury. I'm the Chief Product and Data Officer at Roman Originals. I started my career out as an engineer with HP, and then gradually started moving towards product. And these days, product is a way of life. This is not just what I do. This is what I live and breathe. And for me, that's quite interesting. I have worked with likes of Tesco twice in my career. I've worked with Money Supermarket, Thomas Cook, couple of other places, and my last stint was with Kingfisher Group.
Mm-hmm.
I these days I focus on building marketplaces and retail media strategies that drives new revenue streams and also delivers customer value at the same time.
Okay, very cool. So, what would you say do you do best in marketplace business? I mean, building marketplaces, of course, as I introduced you, but what is your strongest feat?
My strongest feature, someone said that to me, is I am a product leader with business acumen. I can see things end to end. My job is to make sure that the right team can be put together. When they have challenges, I can step in and help them solve those challenges and guide them. That's where I specialize in. And I think I definitely specialize in seeing the business value of every work that we do. I think for me, that's quite important because you can work on 110 things. But if you have to focus on 10 most important things, how do you prioritize? And I think with the kind of experience that I have, I think I bring that kind of focus amongst the team. So that's my specialization.
Okay, great. Okay, now I already warned you about this, but we're always going for a fun fact for our people to get them to know a bit more personally. So, what's your fun fact?
All right. So don't judge me if that's what I'm going to say first. I have a confession to make. I have a serious screen addiction. Play anything in front of me and I will watch it. So one time I was traveling back from work from London to my place, which takes around 35 to 40 minutes. I got into a packed train, sat right, got the window seat. There was this gentleman who sat right next to me, and before I knew, I was completely caught up into whatever he was watching, and I started peeking over his shoulder, literally with my side eye, started watching whatever he was watching. I was completely engulfed into it. For 40, 45 minutes, I was stuck. I watched the entire series without any sound, without any subtitles. I was into it. And as we were about to get off, luckily my stop is the last stop, there was this elderly gentleman who sat right opposite us, who was watching me all the time. So he leaned forward and he said, "Young lady, I have seen a lot in my life, but I've never seen anybody binge watching over someone else's shoulder without any sound and without even blinking." I was totally embarrassed. So see, these days I am very careful, but yeah, that's my funny story.
Should talk to my kids. Sounds sounds familiar. Great. Okay, Pinky, great. So now we know you a bit better, and and we can also start in our discussion and on how marketplaces are built. We'll dive right into this after a very short break, in which we would like to make you aware of a story we posted last week on our website together with our partner Text2.
Taxes and VAT may not be your favorite topics, but they can make or break your business, especially when your tax advisor isn't familiar with cross-border e-commerce. That's why we sat down with Roger Grothman, founder of Tax2 and former tax auditor, for an eye-opening interview on what really goes wrong behind the scenes.
Yeah, let me tell you, there's a lot to unpack there because, from unclear responsibilities to OSS misunderstanding and audits gone wrong, Roger really didn't hold back in that interview. He explained why fewer than 1% of tax firms are, for example, prepared for marketplace clients because they just don't understand the business, and what questions you must ask before choosing an advisor, and why proper tax onboarding is really non-negotiable.
Yeah. And if you want to hear the full story, read the complete interview now on our website, packed with practical tips and sharp insights from someone who's been on both sides of the audit table. We will put a link for you in the show notes.
And if you're looking for more tips and insights on this topic, then stay tuned for episode 113, which we have at end of May. And there we will have Roger on the show, and he'll be sharing even more insights on tax and VAT. Okay, So now let's go back to our discussion on hand and talk about how to build a marketplace. I guess at the moment we have roughly, Valerie, help me out, some 200 relevant platforms in Europe already, or even more. I think
Roughly.
roughly
Yeah,
around
roughly.
200, I would say, if you go for relevant. So the market is really packed with platform options in every industry, basically. And if a new retailer announces a platform start, I tend to be skeptical, really, because what do they bring to the market? Do we really need this new platform? What's the additional value?
But maybe we need to point out that we're talking about B2C marketplace platforms.
Yes, of course.
If we talk about the 200, because B2B
Yes.
there's a lot more, but we're not focusing on B2B.
Yeah, that's true, and it is a different story for B2B marketplaces, definitely. But when we talk about B2C, then we have seen enough platforms open and close over the last years. I mean, this is something that we're also covering here on Let's Talk Marketplace. So, when a new one starts out, we're always like, let's see how long they last, basically. But nevertheless, there have been a few platform launches over the last years that turned out to be quite successful. And very often, the strategic lead behind these platforms turned out to be Pinki. So this is why we invited you today. So if you think on your platform projects over the last years, I mean, there's been Tesco and B&Q and Castorama, and now you're doing the same thing for Roman Originals. So what's the red thread that connects these projects? What would you say?
Very interesting question. For me, the common thread amongst all these retailers is their deep understanding of their customers and a relentless focus to own that relationship. That's quite important. So for Tesco, it's all about providing that convenience. For B&Q, for inspiration. For Roman now, it's all about curation. They just didn't add assortment. They didn't add a lot of catalog in their product catalog. They actually deepen their engagement with the customer, and that's quite important. The other thing I see common is a mindset. These retailers had the courage to make really bold strategic bets. They read the changing trends in the market and made those bets. That's quite common. And what other thing that I see is marketplaces are really, really complex. There are a lot of moving parts. And to make that kind of commitment by these retailers, that's what makes them stand apart. And and we know that when marketplace is done well, it is much more than just a sales channel. Actually, it acts as a true differentiator and a strategic advantage in that space. So that's what I see common amongst all these retailers.
Yeah, interesting that you would focus on these things, especially as your projects have been coming from so different industries so far. So interesting that its strategy behind is the connecting thread, if I understood that correctly. So if you look at one of those marketplaces maybe and focus on the key ingredients that make marketplace successful, I'm thinking mostly of B&Q because they have been having a really great story over the last year, but also Castorama is also doing quite well. So the key ingredients apart from the strategy points that you just mentioned, what would those be?
I would say marketplaces are quite complex, right? As I mentioned, there are quite a few factors, but I talk about these 8 strategic points that you need to focus on. I call it Super 8 that you need to focus on when you're thinking of a marketplace. Trying to launch a marketplace without marketplace specialists. It's quite common. A lot of retailers want to repurpose their existing resources, put together their 1P resources, and try to build a marketplace. And that's where things can go wrong. Marketplaces, you need to start thinking about seller onboarding. You need to think about how the variable data needs to be handled. You need to think about the compliance changes, the commission structure, the payment processes. There are so many factors that needs to be taken into account. And you have a non-specialist team, then a lot of assumptions goes into it. And then you have misaligned architecture, misaligned designs, gaps in governance, your operational inefficiencies creep in, and when you have to start unpicking it, it becomes really expensive and very, very complex. So that's the very first mistake that I see people doing that. I'm not going to name, but there are quite a few retailers in the UK and in and outside UK that I know of who have done it, and they are the ones that you will see either closing down or slowing down massively. So that's the first thing that you have to be very, 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 very about. Get a specialist team. They know the pitfalls. They will discuss, they will argue, but they will make the right, well-informed decisions. So that's the very first thing.
Yes, actually, this usual topic of marketplace business, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's start this. Like, we do this with the people we already have. It's on the side, right?
Yeah.
Just like do it. It's like,
Yeah.
Can't be
okay,
that
I mean,
difficult, huh?
if you open a new department, then you also don't say, like, oh, yeah, they can do this on the side, right? It's like, what the
That,
hell?
and
Yeah.
not marketplace, not marketplace.
No,
There is
not marketplace. Yeah.
too many complex factors to be considered. The
Yeah.
other is control paradox. You start a marketplace, but you run a marketplace like your 1P business. It is
Yeah.
not a 1P business.
Yeah.
No.
It is not retail. It is marketplace, and you need to bear that in mind. I have seen often, commercial teams trying to have too tight control on the branding, on seller, pricing, on inventory. Marketplace is a diversity. It is a diverse place that it thrives when it is diverse. You need to allow the sellers to be successful on your platform. You are building a platform. You're not selling a product, and that's the basic discrimination you need to do. You need to have controls in place. I'm not saying you don't have to have rules in place, but you definitely need to think about how do I get a monitoring in place? How do I monitor as opposed to imposing rules? So let sellers breathe in, let them have the freedom to grow. And that's something that I definitely kind of tell people to be very mindful of. The other is like a parent has no bias. And if you have two children for marketplace, especially B2B, B2C marketplaces, your customers are as important as your sellers. Your sellers needs to be nurtured. You need to give them data, insights, dashboards. Give them all that information so that they can make well-informed decisions. Most of the time, sellers have no clue. They're not given all of this information. You need to provide them tools. If they want to run promotions, give them all of that. You will see a lot of MVP launches without any delivery proposition, without any promotional tools. And then how are sellers supposed to compete in that space? How are they going to grow in that space? So that thing needs to be definitely kind of considered.
That's really a good point,
A
because this
lot
is
of
what
sellers
I,
are,
yeah.
yeah,
That's what I often see, that platforms treat their sellers like, I don't know, something the cat brought in, you know?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, okay, you can
exactly.
come here, you can only sell this product in this side category to that price, and don't bother me too much, and don't bother my
Yeah,
first P business. Like, yeah,
exactly.
well,
Yeah.
It's not going to work. Also, like, a lot of your sellers, not every seller is a big seller. These sellers could be like, medium size or a small size seller.
yeah.
They don't have army of people. Your payment reconciliation doesn't work. If you have three services, they have to log in into three systems, three invoices, nothing matches. That's not what you want. You want to streamline that so that it becomes easier for them to do their business. You are here to help them, nurture them. And I keep saying that nurture is the word. You have to nurture them. So, this is one more thing that I tell people to be very, very careful of. And one of the biggest blunder that I see is logistics as an afterthought. Let's launch the marketplace. We'll figure out how the logistics can be taken care of. The estimated timelines are all over the place. Things are not getting delivered. No one knows where the delivery of the product is. You haven't even thought about returns. And I'll give you an example from my B&Q days. So we launched, we didn't, the idea was customers will contact sellers directly and returns will take place. But B&Q has, their 1P business has a click and collect proposition. So all of a sudden, customers were turning up into the store and returning these marketplace products. And there were piles and piles of products that were lining up in the stores. Luckily, we had a very, very good team. We listened, we learned, and we acted on it. So we had to prioritize returns. We had to automate that particular part, and we took care of it. But you need to think about your returns. And then to make it worse, we launched cross-border operations very soon after. Now you need to think about what happens to your import duties. If the products are coming from Germany into the UK or vice versa, what happens to your import duty? What happens to your customs duty? You don't want your products to be getting stuck in a border agency and giving a call that you need to pay to get this particular product. What happens to your reverse logistics when the product has to go back to the seller? So all of these things, very classic with eBay, that you see, like, your product is there at customs, you have to pay some money to get
Yeah.
that product. You don't want that surprise to happen to your customers. Your customers needs to be well informed. They need to know upfront the cost of it. Don't give them shocks, because that's what is going to sway them away. So these are things that you need to be aware of. Now
Yeah,
I'm
and you
going to
need
go
to be
slightly,
you need to
yeah,
realize also that if that doesn't work, it falls back on your retail brand, yeah, not on the third party seller who
absolutely.
he might not be able to deliver, but on you. So of course, yeah, that's your point of view, and that's your business to deal with. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Along with that, now I'm going to go slightly into deeper into the marketplaces and your poor payment setup. Um, what retailers do not realize that you have a payout setup. How many PSPs you need to think about? Do you need one PSP? Do you need multiple PSPs? What happens if you are doing cross-border operations? You have to think about that there is a payout charge, and then there is a currency conversion charges that are levied upon you. What happens to your bottom line P&L? You need to factor all that in, and these needs to be considered when you're designing a marketplace. Is it a netting or is it an operator funded? More often, many payout providers will sell you a particular product, and then you later start thinking about what happens. Can I get into a kind of 50-50 arrangement where marketplace sellers are also paying a certain, for a certain proposition, and operator is also funding half of it? You cannot do many of those setups. So you need to be very, very diligent about the payout providers that you are choosing, because it's very essential ingredient of a successful marketplace. And also,
So,
like, with cross-border money operations, you need to partner very closely with the payout providers. The payment providers out there, please work closely with your retailers, because understand their challenges. I know there is a lot of work that is happening in the world of fintech with central bank, digital currency, CBDC, these interesting things that are happening, which is going to be really useful. But please listen to the retailers, and the same ask goes to the retailers. Work with the payment providers so that you can build a solution that works for both of you. So that's the challenge that you need to be aware of. Compliance and regulatory challenges, PSD2 challenges, PSD3 challenges. When marketplaces started, the regulations were really weak because that there were not many of them. But now regulations are getting, tightening with each passing day. You need to have a very good legal team. Not every legal professional is marketplace proficient. So read all those line by line. Stay ahead of it. I know, for example, a lot of marketplaces in the UK market and European market will be in trouble because of PSD2 and PSD3 regulation changes. So start reading all of this ahead of time. Prepare, make the changes that you need to, which you have to, all of them have to make those changes. Be ahead of the game and start looking into these compliance changes. That's why marketplace is so complicated. And there is money laundering and security risk that you will see. Cross border, before even the product can be exchanged, your money is converted from one currency to the other. KYC challenges, KYP challenges. Again, be very, very diligent with it, because this is where you will see fraudsters absolutely scamming your website. So you need to be on top of it. And I cannot wrap this up without talking about AI. It's the most used and abused term in today's world. I think we need to be very careful. AI is expensive. Let's face it. You need to understand where you are using it, what problem you're trying to solve with AI. Does it require AI? Can you solve it without AI as well? But within marketplace, there is a lot of scope. For example, the whole KYC, KYP, the onboarding process that I spoke about, that can be, you can do a lot of work on with OpenAI there. And there's a lot of work that is already happening in the industry. So you can leverage that. Your data could be all wide variety of data, so many sellers. You cannot be monitoring everything manually. It is impossible to do that. How do you do the data sanitization? How the images can be corrected? How the description and everything can be corrected? You can do that with AI, open AI tools. A lot of platforms like Miracle comes with these
Mm.
capabilities, obviously with a price. So it's your call whether you want to buy it or you want to build it. In fashion marketplace, for example, we need to think a lot about search and discoverability. So a lot of work on that front. Again, with AI, you can do that. And especially with virtual try-ons, your fittings, like your AR technology, you can do a lot over there as well. So pick your strongest pick your strongest problems, and then work on AI and come up with a solution. So I would say these are the 8 factors that you need to consider when you're launching a marketplace.
Wow.
That was a
I'm like
lot to
already
dive
like,
into, yeah.
phew, phew, phew. And then I really need to laugh somehow, because if they think they can do this like on the side with just their regular team, I like, this is insane. How much time do you like, did it take you to start a marketplace, like till I would say from the idea till opening it?
Hmm. Depends. First time when you're launching a marketplace. So for when we were doing it, during Tesco days, that was ages ago. First time when Tesco attempted marketplace, it took us a longer time and an army of people. But also the back in the day, we didn't have sophisticated seller marketplace platforms like Miracle. Uh, in case of B&Q, because it was like, a lot of alignment had to be done
Yeah.
with 1P businesses, a lot of concerns. I think it took us around 1.5 years, but we got better and better. By the time we launched Castorama France and Poland, we did it ahead of time, under budget, in record 7 months.
Wow.
Wow. That's really crazy. So
Yeah,
if it
and
then,
that was
yeah.
that was mind-boggling. We ourselves surprised ourselves when we did that. So it was very good.
Yes,
I can
definitely.
see how proud you are in here.
Yeah, that's all. That's
Yeah,
And
yeah,
seven
but
months
well
later, you're launching
deserved.
a
Well
marketplace in
deserved.
yeah,
7 months.
well
That happened.
deserved. Yeah, yeah.
So now you started at Roman and trying to do again the same magic that you did with Castorama and with B&Q, but now for a fashion
Yeah.
marketplace. I think that's your first fashion marketplace. So what makes that different from the sectors you've been in before?
Oh, fashion is a different beast. It's a different ball game altogether.
Yeah.
Amongst all the marketplace verticals, fashion is probably the hardest of all the verticals.
Yeah.
And there are quite a few reasons for it. So it's going to be slightly long answer, so bear with me on this one. Fashion is highly subjective and the trends change. It's personal taste, social identity, cultural influence, your social influence. It's a lot of influences that impact fashion. And one TikTok video goes viral, everything changes. So you have to, when you're designing your marketplace, you need to be on top of how you can manage the inventory, how can you manage the merchandising. We had to very particularly focus on that particular part because we knew that we need to be very, very diligent and careful with that. The other is, fit and sizing issue. Returns rate in fashion is 30 to 50%, which is the highest among all the marketplaces that you can see. So as a result, we need to think about, like, lot of, in our MVP version for DIY, I didn't have to think about that. But for fashion, I need to think about how the virtual realities can be embedded in the sizing, while customers are purchasing the product. How can we think of virtual try-ons? I need to start thinking about all of that, which was not a problem at all when I was launching a DIY. You don't have to do that. And these technologies are not like fully formed as well. So it's not like, there are like, absolutely perfect solutions that are out there in the market. But you need to start weaving that in your roadmaps when you're designing a fashion marketplace. The other thing is seasonality and inventory risk. Yes, in food also free seasonality matters. In DIY also free seasonality matters. In summers, the sales definitely picks up. But in fashion, seasonality comes quite a few times in your life cycle, and so the product life cycle is much shorter. One trend changes, one season changes, and your entire inventory becomes obsolete. So we had to build a lot of dashboards for our sellers so that they can act accordingly. We need to, for example, a lot of marketplaces launch their MVP without any promotion capability because they think they can do it later. But for fashion, you have to. if sellers have to move that all that dead stock, they need to have promotion capability. So it differs in case of fashion. So all of a sudden your MVP is not a light MVP. It's a very evolved and very complex MVP. It's not very simple. So 7 months might be slightly a steep ask in case of fashion. Also, a lot of brand perception and aspirational buying. Fashion is all about brand images, social media influencers kind of impacting that, and all of that again needs to be weaved in. So we need to think about how do we actually measure all of these, social media influencers and how that can actually impact the merchandising that we have on the website. So all those feeds and everything needs to be considered as part of fashion marketplace.
Yeah.
And we all are plagued by it. The fast fashion and the price wars with Timus and fashion, Sheins of the world, it is impacting across all the different demographics. It's just not one particular demography, it's across all the demographics. How do you compete with them? What is going to be your a true differentiator? We all have to dig deep to find our true differentiator. And Ingrid, Valerie, I spoke about it that we are working on something that I cannot disclose right now, but in the near future, I'll be able to share that. But there is a true differentiator you have to find in every marketplace. In fashion, you have to.
Yes.
Otherwise, like you said, it's going to be another marketplace that has been launched without any differentiation. And why would you be
Yeah.
able to attract customers and retain them
Yeah.
compared to others? So you have to start it from day one to think about it.
Yeah. I mean,
Also,
yeah,
yeah, go
especially
ahead.
if you have like other marketplaces in the country you are starting, right? Like
Yeah,
there are already some other fashion marketplaces in the UK, so how do
yeah,
you differentiate to be not
absolutely.
another one, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this was one of the things when I accepted the offer. This is what I wanted to think about. That I don't want to launch a marketplace. I want a successful marketplace. That's what I specialize in. So then, how do I think what is different? And that's what we have been working on, and also a lot of styling and discoverability challenges with fashion. We all do that. We aimlessly shop, we aimlessly go and looking, and before we know, we are distracted. So, how do you actually give a curated experience to your customers so that they can be locked in? You're looking for a dress. How do we give you the right kind of search based on the segment you belong to? So all of that is like very 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 crucial for fashion. So a Pinterest like virtual, the Pinterest like virtual searches are really important for fashion. I didn't have to think about that when I was doing DIY marketplaces because that's not part of MVP. But now I need to think about all of that. And the final thing that I would say is sustainability and ethical concerns. So all of a sudden, if you are projecting that, you need to start thinking about how do you ensure that the sellers are filling all that right data? How do you do right kind of checks? And this is where the AI technology is so important for us. So it's like, how do you display it on PDP so that customers are aware of it? So you need to be much more mindful of these kind of factors when you are doing a fashion marketplace. Life was much simpler when I was doing DIY. So I would say
I thought so.
these are the challenges.
Which is why I was quite astonished to hear that you had gone to Roman and were accepting there to build a marketplace. Like, all right, okay, she's looking for challenges, obviously. Like, going for a, I don't know, out of the comfort zone experience here. Um, this is a great talk, Pinky, and I know you have so many things to tell us more, but our time is running a bit short. So, but I would really like to touch upon that one topic that makes or breaks a marketplace, which is how do you deal with the first party, third party relationship with on the marketplace. So you said you have to nurture your sellers, you have to make them comfortable, give them a good place to start in. But you have been building marketplaces only for retailers that already had a strong first P business. So how do you deal with the problems inside the company when your first party department comes over and says, all these marketplace sellers are stealing my business? So how do you balance that?
Um, it's quite interesting. It is tricky. There is no doubt about it. Let's address the elephant in the room, cannibalization. This is the term why your 1P business kind of dread marketplaces.
Yeah.
And I would say balancing 1P and 3P is both art and strategy. So I'll share my own experience, what worked for us and what we did differently. So first and foremost thing, during your initial days, protect your 1P business. Until the marketplace has kind of scaled up, protect your 1P business. This is the reason why trust has been formed with customers. This is the reason why your customers know your brand. This is the reason why they are coming to your doorstep. Protect it by all means until marketplace has launched. Thereon, let data decide what should be the future recourse of your, of your strategy. Look into your unit margins of the product. Look into your, category aggregated margins. Look into what customer is demanding of you. Look into the product performance. All of these metrics should be deciding how the product should be ranked in your search results, in all your feeds, in all the other searches that is coming up. So, be fair. There should be a sense of, kind of fairness and commercial sense. It has to make sense from both sides. So let data do the kind of talking thereon. And let's accept the fact, right? Marketplace drives strategic growth. Once you start doing, adding a lot of SKUs, you are going to see huge amount of traffic. You are going to see conversion. You are going to see revenue growth, and that's a fact. And we have seen that happening. But also something very interesting that happened when we were doing B&Q. What we saw was 50% of our customers, by the way, it is in public domain. Just 2 days ago, it was put out in public domain. So 50% of our customers were new customers. These customers were not coming to B&Q. These customers were going elsewhere. So we were able to attract new customers. But when these new customers came, they not only bought marketplace product, we also started seeing growth in our 1P business. So there was a reverse cannibalization that was happening. So as a result, within B&Q, you will see very less resistance towards marketplace because they are complementing each other. They are complementary rather than cannibalizing each other. As someone had pointed out, that marketplace does not steal your 1P business. It just kind of expands the pie. So everyone is benefiting. Your SEO is improving. Your ranking is becoming better. Your long tail searches you are appearing in those searches. Your high intent searches you are appearing in those searches. Your organic growth is happening. So you are just like benefiting from all of these factors. So marketplace kind of just helps you to boost your business. The other thing is customers do not care about 1P and 3P. For them, a product is a product. They care about price, they care about range, they care about convenience. And if your marketplace is providing all of that, let it be. Let it organically grow. And as a marketplace operator, all you should care about is how you're going to make profit while your customer values are not compromised. So if you are selling one P product with £50 margin and you're selling 100 units of other product with £15 margin, do your math where you're winning. So let it grow organically. That's what I would say. But marketplaces just expands the pie. It doesn't steal your 1P business. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, I guess that is a good thing a good way to round this up. This look into the mind of a successful platform builder. So thank you very much for that, Pinki. It was really great to talk with you and hear how you can create a marketplace that really works even today. So
Yeah, really impressive, Pinki.
yeah,
Thank you so
absolutely.
much.
Yeah, and so very much good luck with Roman Originals, and we're looking forward to put it on the marketplace quadrant as soon as it starts. I would say. Okay, right. So that's for us. That's us for today. So thank you all for listening. And next week we'll be talking a little bit more about Temu and why brands should or shouldn't consider this platform for their marketplace strategy. And we'd be happy if you tune in again.
Yeah, and if you liked listening to us today, consider following us and rating our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or YouTube, or wherever you're listening to us. And of course, by tuning in again next time. Thank you so much, Pinki.
Thank you.
And see you next time.
Bye-bye.
It was a pleasure talking to you. Bye.
Bye.
You listen to Let's Talk Marketplace.
The Marketplace podcast with Ingrid and Valerie Dichtel.